All right, welcome everyone. For those who don't know us, I'm Trigger and this is
I'm
Commit.
commit.
And this is a channel where we share our views on a variety of topics that we usually don't know what they're going to be until we talk about them. So, spirituality, business, world crisis, I don't know, whatever comes up. And we're just speaking from our own personal truth, and we hope to inspire you in this way. So today, I
And to do the
think,
same. And to share
yeah,
your
you wanted
personal
to,
truth as much as possible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that's what always comes, right? You know, that's why we
Hmm.
trigger. That's why we trigger people.
Yeah, to get to that point. Yeah, I can start. Today I
Mhm.
feel like shit. I feel like crap. I woke up feeling heavy, heavy, not even necessarily really down in terms of mentally, but just more very heavy in the body because I've been abusing from and caffeine and some sugar and this and that. But let's say more
Ooh.
to my usual levels, and in the past 3 days, and also because it's a time where I I have this cycle where every 2 3 weeks there's a buildup in tension in so many ways in my life, and then this is the moment where I dive back into myself, and that's my natural
Mm.
cycle. And so what it just inspired me right now and made me think that we could talk, made me think about the subject that we could talk about is this. It's owning our shadows, as you just said. It's owning um, these moments, and it's embodying the same values as we do when we're feeling great and when we're feeling like shit, and accepting both sides as much as possible. And I've always been in researching and pushing forward this the fact that I should always be feeling happy, and I should always be feeling great, and I should always have that base
Good luck with
emotion.
that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck to all of you for those who are still in that mission. It sucks. It really doesn't work. And
Mm.
for the first time, I was just telling Cassien, for the first time this morning, even though I do feel very bad, I'm not hurting myself on purpose. I'm not feeling guilty. I'm not finding reasons. I'm not making changes instantly in my life because I shouldn't be feeling like this and I shouldn't this, I shouldn't that. It is what it is. And I still love life as much as I did yesterday. And it's just part of my cycle.
Yeah, it's the balance, right? Because I mean, you got both extremes, the extremes of joy,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the other end of the spectrum, you got to experience some form of discomfort or pain or whatever it is for, I guess it's different things for different people.
Yeah.
But what that really, like, does really resonate with me, obviously, is it's fascinating the perception of reality that we have, that we project onto ourselves when we're striving for better, whatever it is, a better lifestyle, better relationships, better work, better everything, is the amount of perfection that we envision for it. And we always take out the human aspect, we always take the human element out as if it was going to be an upward ride. And I think some of it may be due to this like growth mentality that's dominating on the planet right now. It's this thing where, well,
Mm-hmm.
I can only go up, it can only get better. It will always get better, better, better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I also get trapped in that. And I can only think of one very recent example. I recently went to the border to, all about this, to get my visa, and I was denied entry in Canada for whatever reason. And when that happened, I really saw that energy within me, that wasn't prepared for bad news. So you get
Mm-hmm.
crushed, and you're like, why is this happening? It's not part of the plan. The plan is to always go upwards. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's a dent, there's something wrong. And then you backfire right away. So, well, is something wrong? And I did something wrong, and it's about
Mm-hmm.
me, and I should change something. And then you really start to see how this mechanism of what I call double down, right? It's like, oh, let me
Mm-hmm.
double down on this. It's already shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Let me double down and make my life even worse by punishing myself, and let's say start guilt tripping myself into saying, oh, this is all your fault. Your paperwork wasn't right. You didn't say the right thing at the right time to this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so on. When those things might be true, but the reality is it's just part of life. It's just part of life. Sometimes you wake up and it sucks, and for us that practice and use something like the Aztec calendar, for example, for our sort of daily
Mm-hmm.
timekeeping. I feel like those sort of tools really, really, change that perspective on life. Like for those who don't know, like the Aztec calendar, for example, is it's 20 days of that are successive in the
Consecutive.
year, consecutive. Thank you, that's the correct word. And every one of these days corresponds to a specific cosmic energy that influences at this time, and they have very different energies, very varied. Some are more good for work or for rest or for play or for relationships or for this or for that. They all have a specific energy. And when I started discovering these sort of things, these sort of wisdoms, I was like, oh, so this makes sense. I like when I wake up in the morning, I'm always feeling different from one day to another. And to a certain degree, the level of control that I have over my well-being can be limited when there's all this
Mm-hmm.
other energy, that's there. So it's good to just stay,
Yeah,
a little
and that
bit
brings
from.
us
Yeah.
that brings us back to what we were saying last time about the Matrix, and it's again this will this uh, habit that we've taken in society to normalize everything, like we have done the 9 to 5,
Mm,
that comes from the industrial age, and this thing where every day needs to be the same to some extent, or none of these none of these personal cycles are taken into account
mm,
in that. And I do feel like it does, it probably creates a lot of false beliefs in us that yes, we should be feeling a certain way all through the day or all through the week or all this or all that. And if we're not, then yeah, there's something that needs to be changed and everything. Well, at least that's the way I was seeing it before. And so until I, yeah, recently let go of that. I think there's another thing, which is social media, that probably doesn't help. Um, that probably doesn't help us really embrace these either sad moments or heavy moments or shadow moments, we could call them, because we very rarely get to see them posted, as a story, as a post, as this, as a that. We always see like the top. We always see the peak states. We always see, yeah, the tip of the iceberg. And I really feel like
mm,
social media hasn't really helped people in that sense. And we were, and especially in the place that we live right now, because we played the other night in the streets with Cassien, and we play. Although the range in the Gypsy Kings goes from the super upbeat song of Bamboleo to the, how could I say, the
heartfelt
heartfelt soul
drama.
drama of existence itself, which is the more, and we play both of them, and something that I've realized over the past months that we've played in public,
Mhm.
the ones we get cheered on massively are the ones that are upbeat, and the other ones are generally people just don't really want to look. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to a lot of people, and I feel like we sing them with the same quality and the same effort
Yeah,
put
yeah,
into them,
yeah.
and it's really, I feel that, I really feel that here, especially in North America, and even more here, where there's this notion of positive only, and even worse, I saw the other day, was no negativity. It's like, where do you go from there? You can't crush negativity. Like, it's part of the experience as well. Um, that's one of the biggest traps, I feel, of
Mm,
spirituality in general and the path. And people who take it, they imagine
mm.
that they're just going to be like this, on
Wellspring
fire
of
all the time,
eternal love and light.
all the time. And if it's not, something is
Mm.
wrong with them. Yeah.
Yeah, which like brings important questions. When you're leading a spiritual life, is like, what do I do when I'm terribly angry? At someone. What do
E.
I do when I'm disgusted? What do I do when I'm extremely sad? And the last thing I want to do is promote my work online, or when like all these things. And I do think though that on social media there are some people that are like frontlining
Becoming more and more
a
vulnerable. Yeah.
different way of communicating, but I've also seen that there is a fabrication of vulnerability now that is part
Mm-hmm.
of the social media identity, because being vulnerable sells so well. And I sent out
Mm-hmm.
my email this morning to launch, and that's what I did. I shared
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of me being vulnerable and behind me being strong, and it sells.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good motivator for people. So how the question is how to navigate between all these states, how to distinguish a clear intention from someone that's not clouded, not how do you work out all of this? How do you stay true to what you're feeling, your emotions, and sometimes it's not that easy to be yourself in the world. Well, as you said with the songs, people just aren't that receptive, and they don't want to hear about it sometimes. It makes
Mm-hmm.
people feel uncomfortable. And so I guess when you start to live wholeheartedly through your emotional waves and through who you are in the moment, you gotta be prepared to experience a lot of resistance around you, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
resistance from your friends, because you have that friend that's always sort of moody and always negative and always in the ditch, because they're just, that's the place they're at in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start to say something sad or something tough that you're going through, their cup is already so full that they just can't
Yeah.
take it, and so they either run away or they attack, which is usually the two options, or ignore you.
Hmm.
And yeah, how do we sort of allow people to express themselves more and more freely, and allow us to speak from a place allow ourselves to speak from a place of vulnerability, and move the debate or the state of self-expression upwards to a place where, yeah, it's totally okay for strangers to cry in each other's arms. And
Hmm.
I mean, there's so much pain. We all, like, collectively, we hold
There
so much
is.
pain, and there's so many reasons to be upset, so many reasons to be sad. I thought it was really interesting. They talk a lot, like, climate activists and people that are activists in general. They talk a lot about um, sort of the activist anxiety. The feeling of despair that comes out, especially from people that struggle for the climate. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's a state of despair because they're in front of such a level of destruction that at some point when you're thinking and feeling about it every day, it becomes so overwhelming, right?
You're identified.
Yeah, and then how that reflects on them from the exterior is that people start saying, "Oh yeah, these activists, they're always sort of complaining and they're always gloomy, and they
Mm-hmm.
can't see the positive into things, and
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's just yeah." Right.
Hmm.
How do you how do you stay in balance? You know,
Mm.
how do you stay in balance?
Healthy expression of all emotions, for sure.
Mm,
I feel like as people, we've grown up in half of
just
our
don't
life
make
in
any
Latin
noise.
countries, and when I look at Latin people in general, it feels like we're a bit more comfortable with that. Maybe
Mm,
it's only an impression, but really living here, and whenever I meet a Latin person, there's always a lot more expression to them, and it seems a lot easier. And I guess it's probably an upbringing as well. It's probably an upbringing and like how we, yeah, uh, like there's a lot less passive aggressivity, I would say, over there. You know, if you're in Napoli and in Naples, and you piss off somebody, they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, that's fine, no worries," and then hold it in and then throw it back in your face later on. They're going to tell you right there in your face that you just pissed them off big time. There's a
yeah.
directness and a very
And an authenticity in a way, you know, like
authenticity. Yeah.
I definitely don't recommend yelling at someone when you feel angry. There's other ways of communicating anger, but you should express your discontent to people when there is discontent. You know, you should really engage with people and tell them this is not okay, or I'm feeling
Hmm.
this, or I'm, even if you
Yeah.
meet massive resistance on the other side, it really doesn't matter. It's about expressing yourself, right?
And I feel like one of the resistances is the fear of conflict, right? And that we see
Mm,
in a lot of places, and even just in the even in day-to-day interactions, but also like on a global level. But the fear of entering in conflict and having to resolve a conflict, um, I feel is really great. Like it's great. Sorry, it's huge. It's huge.
mm,
And let's just imagine for a moment that every person on this earth had all the tools that they needed in order to resolve a conflict, as in be in complete um, resonance with their emotions, knowing how to express them healthily, and also adopting basic rules like the four um,
agreements.
thank you, the four agreements, or something as simple as only talking about oneself. And once you really adopt that in every situation, you really start to realize how easy it is to fix a conflict, and how it's conflict is so beneficial, because out of this
Mm,
conflict or crisis, well, either it can stay the same and therefore nobody wins anything, either both parties win because you get to find an agreement. And that's the only places where you grow, I feel. It's a place where both people really get to grow when they exit a conflict in a really healthy manner.
yeah,
And it's a
yeah, yeah.
shame. I see it a lot around me, like in especially here, and especially in this country and in this part of the country, where people sometimes say sorry just for being like on your path. You're walking and
For
somebody's there, and they
existing.
turn around like, I'm so sorry, I'm alive, like what? And it's like this fear of entering in conflict. Sorry is this kind of like go-to word. I'm imagining what if we banned sorry for like 1 week in Canada. I really wonder what would happen. I really wonder what would happen.
Revolution.
Revolution. Everybody would be crying and yelling
An
and screaming.
uprising. Yeah, I feel like one of the things that this fear of conflict really feeds itself off is that conflict isn't spiritual. That conflict isn't a good thing. You know, conflict is something that's an
Mm.
expression of the lowliness of humans. You know, if we're a
Mm.
superior human,
Mm.
if we're a good human, if we're a virtuous human, we're okay with
Hmm.
everything. You know, things just slip on us and they don't concern us, and we're so
It's
over
not the
it.
way I
You know,
should be. Yeah.
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 You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's. I'm so over this, and you know, I used to be terrified of conflict, and then sometimes I still am. You know, I remember that asshole that we were playing in the streets, and this guy literally like had his car parked in front of us, and he'd been gone for hours. We'd been playing there, and he arrives. He steps into his car and starts blaring the music as loud as he can. And he opens his back window so that more of the music can get out of the car, signaling that he really doesn't want us where we are and we should leave. And yeah, part of me wanted to go just see him, tell him, dude, like what you're doing is not cool. And then the idea of just having to like communicate with this person was so like, oh, it's such an effort to me. I was just like, all right, I'll just
Not
avoid this
worth it.
situation and I'll leave.
Not worth it.
And
Yeah.
and the cost of that, it's small
Mhm.
because the offense was pretty small, but the cost of that is that I'm keeping that emotion with me, that initial emotion
Mhm.
where this guy like was outwardly aggressive to me, and I felt it that way, and I kept it, and then that is
Mm.
a seed. That is the seed for
Mhm.
the bad stuff
Mhm.
later on,
Mhm.
which you know all about. But really, I was always avoiding conflict in my life desperately. And one of the ways that I would bypass myself and bypass my values into doing it was that it wasn't like me. I was so over this. I was
Mhm.
incarnating such high values of love and compassion and fraternity and everything that yeah, I didn't deal in lowly emotions. If there was conflict, it was on you, man. It's just on you.
Yeah, so we
It's
have
just on you.
we have our first example of pure spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, I've
uh,
been practicing it since '91, so I'm really good at it.
Spiritual bypass being the mechanism by which we jump straight to the ideal and in the process sacrifice reality. Does that sound good?
It's a brilliant
Sounds good.
definition. Absolutely.
Um, and in this situation, it's like, yeah, my ideal self and my perfect non-human self, Christic self, you know, it's like
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
should be behaving in this way, and therefore I'm going to force myself into behaving this way, therefore bulldozing everything that I feel and that I'm really experiencing in this reality right now. I'm going to destroy all of that in the process, and therefore, yeah, as you said, it's going to come at a cost. I'm going to suppress the emotion. I'm going to linger on it a
Mm.
lot longer,
Yeah.
when what you're really called to do as a human being is to step up and to enter into that conflict and to solve it and to see that as an opportunity. And it's going to require you to dare. It's going to require you to step up. It's going to require you to put yourself out there. It's going to require you to be vulnerable. It's going to require you all of those things. And yeah, this technique of spiritual bypass is a disguised way of fleeing a situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens not only here, but we've seen it before. um I'm sure you have an example. I have another
Well,
one
I mean,
here.
yeah, I've seen it everywhere, and I mean, we grew up in a family also who, at a certain
Hey.
degree, our parents were both spiritual people. So, I mean, we grew up with it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We witnessed a lot of sort of lack of integrity and between what you stand for and what you actually communicate throughout your life. But using that example that I just did from the guy who's blaring his music, the spiritual bypass is labeling that person as different than me and sort of, oh, this guy
Mm-hmm.
is an asshole, he's aggressive, he's not conscious, he obviously doesn't have the level of love and compassion that I have, he obviously doesn't have this and that, and you start to label and you stack some things on him and you move away and you're like, oh, he doesn't even deserve me. That's how you pretty much
Mm-hmm.
finish things
Mm-hmm.
off and you move away
Mm-hmm.
from the situation. So luckily, I didn't think that. I was just like, no, I'm totally a coward in this situation, and I don't want to talk to this person because, yeah, I'd rather just run away. And that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I feel okay with that. But that's really how it works. It's like you don't you don't deserve me sort of thing. You sort of
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
rank the experience in a way that you can level in or out of it and sort of escape it.
Mm-hmm. And in this situation, I would, in the one that you just described, well, because I was with you and I made a decision in regards to myself as well
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
situation. The Well, one of the things that I teach is a lot, most of it is all emotional intelligence, and the basics. The basics are you get an emotion. In this case, we were, I guess, maybe a bit frustrated, or I was feeling a
I would
bit
say
annoyed.
mildly irritated.
Yeah, mildly irritated, annoyed. You always have three options, right? It's like, are you going to accept the situation and therefore change nothing of it and just take it as is? Are you going to try and make it better, i.e., enter in contact with the source, so enter in contact with that person and try to figure something out? Or are you just going to leave it? And all those three versions, all those three are valid in a sense. Like you're allowed to pick one of those three at any
They
time.
have different consequences.
Yeah, exactly. And at that time, it's like we've been playing for an hour. We're having a great time. We're in a great
Yeah, yeah.
vibe. It's like, why break that? Why
Oh,
sacrifice that?
for sure, for
Is it
sure,
worth it? And it's like, yeah, the dude's in
for
his
sure.
thing. It's like, peace, dude, peace and love to you. And like, we're just gonna move like 20 feet, and we won't hear the music anymore, and we can still keep playing and having fun. And we did. We actually had even more fun just after that.
Absolutely,
So it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, every situation, I guess, to its own, as you really well described it there, that spiritual bypass, it would be not even acknowledging the fact, that there's that conflict and this and that. And at least that's what I used to do. I used
Yeah,
to pretend that everything was okay. I would
yeah.
feel like shit.
It doesn't reach me. I'm.
It doesn't. It doesn't reach me. My face has literally transformed itself. I'm completely locked down into my emotions. I haven't been talking to anybody for 30 minutes, but it doesn't reach me. And like the level of arrogance that comes with that, it's
Yeah,
insane. And it's sad. It's a trap, right? It's really something that makes everybody suffer. And I really believe that most of the time it's due to lack of tools, because I see the change in my clients. I see the change between the moment where they don't have any of those tools and they're a victim to all those situations, and the moment where 3 months later they're like, yeah, I'm not afraid of conflict anymore. I just show up. I know how to handle it. I know what the options are. I know how to talk with the person, and it always works out. We always win.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so, yeah,
Lack of guidance, also.
lack of
Lack
guidance.
of guidance, not having a role model of
Mm-hmm.
someone who actually deals with emotional intelligence in these situations. Because if you don't know what it looks like, it's really hard to apprehend. The first
Yes.
time before you actually practice it, you feel like you don't understand that. It's like diffusing a bomb pretty much, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't understand that the level of tension sort of goes
Mm-hmm.
down, and it actually goes much faster than when you walk away from the situation. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
negotiation skill. I mean,
It
basically
is.
it's a negotiation skill, and it's something that, so obviously I'm thinking of Chris Voss right now, because he did this beautiful excellent FBI negotiator turned speaker who wrote a book called Never Split the Difference, that I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
loved. And he talks about the fear of conflict and how people will walk out systematically of any situation that makes them uncomfortable, and will choose to also trample their values at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. And we will find a level of mental bypass, spiritual bypass, that is that can reach the height of what situation we need to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had like major a lot of examples that I had in my life is I had a lot of missed opportunities in my life, like big opportunities that came, that asked me to step up in a way, to go into this new job where I was getting paid much more and I was getting more value for my work, or I had to, step up in a relationship and be more mature in this. And I always bypass myself spiritually at that point with one key element. The best one ever is the universe wills it. God wills it. It's the way
Mm-hmm.
of God. It's not, it's not my fault. This is not working out. It's the will of God. and I can just walk away from this situation unscathed,
Mhm.
unharmed,
Mhm.
because it's not my fault. It's divine will. And I do believe there's the divine will in the world. I do believe the universe has a great plan for us in a
Mhm.
way, but I don't believe you should use it as an excuse to leave your aura of power, your state of personal power where you claim things, you know? And
It's a
so,
giving away your powers, so giving away like the control that you do have over your life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
because,
can be hard to see the
mm,
to see the nuance, but if it's a quick go to, inshallah, right?
yeah, yeah.
The Arabs,
Well, I
most
mean,
Arabs say.
basically, divine will is like a loving parent, right? And you know, you get on the bicycle, and you know they push you, and but you still got to learn by yourself, and you're still gonna like fall off the bicycle and
Hmm.
and and cut yourself. But that divine will is that little encouragement of, yes, you can do it, go for it, go for it. And as soon as you get
Hmm.
on the bicycle, you get that little push, you know, of that person behind you
Hmm.
saying, go, 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 go. And I think that's divine will, and often we mistake it as something that intervenes in our life with you know, big events. Like I'm offered this job, but I totally fuck up the interview because I'm unprepared, I'm stressed, and I had a lot of bad stuff to eat the day before, and I'm not owning to, you know, what I want,
Hmm.
where I want it to be. And so when it doesn't work out, because I'm so depressed with myself from failing
Blame it on God.
where I wanted to succeed, I'm like, oh well, you know, something else is going to come up. The universe is got my back, and this was all its plan. And so, what you do when you do that, when you're spiritually bypassing yourself into thinking that a decision was either not of your will or something like that, what you're saying is you're reinforcing the other story as well, because now you're going to have to prove yourself that this is the truth. So for example, if I get that big job offer and then I mess up the interview and I lose it, well then if I start saying this is what the universe wanted for me, then I'm going to look for another opportunity that's different and will obviously energetically be very different to the first one, and drive myself into it. And of course I'm talking about personal experience here. I will
Yeah.
drive myself into it fully so that I can prove my theory right. And that is the danger. And that also explains perfectly why divine will has nothing to do with this. And it's purely your will, because you can
Hmm.
convince yourself of something so deeply and so
Hmm.
profoundly that it can decide your whole life journey, literally,
Hmm.
you know? And I guess all of the people that are listening to this right now have had those moments in their life where they were at a crossroads, where they could take the left side or the right side, and they knew in their heart that where they wanted to go was there, and for some reason they couldn't. And the easiest way to cope with that is to say it wasn't meant to be.
Hmm.
I had to go right. And then you fuck yourself so
Yeah.
badly forever doing that.
Yeah.
It's just the worst thing you can do.
It really sounds like personal experience.
Yeah, because it's just from there, it's just downhill, man.
Mm.
You know, it's you know, trying to convince the person you don't love anymore that you're there. You know, you're committed in this relationship.
Hmm.
It's like it's not
The doubling down
it
of.
will crash. It will crash at some point.
Hmm. And the oh, getting back to what this conversation started from, it's like the exterior substances and distractions are the ones that fuel that, I feel.
Mm.
Because the moment that you do stop that, the moment that you do go back into stillness, that you go back into just listening to your body, and so you stop the outwards grind, the where do I go to next, or what do I do next, and you just sit there for a bit and check in with your
Yeah,
body and
yeah,
this and
yeah,
that. It comes up very rapidly. You don't need to sit for
yeah.
20 days straight. Things will come
Mm.
up. um yeah,
Yeah,
there's
because
no
I mean,
doubt.
you have the two systems, right? You have the intuition based system, which will give you all the choices in your life that will make you live an
Hmm.
aligned wonderful life full of adventure and full of challenges. And then the other
Hmm.
one, which is a fear-based system, which is working with your limbic brain, which is thinks about fucking, fighting,
Hmm. Eating,
fleeing,
yeah,
and eating, and
binge
all
eating.
things survival based, right?
Yeah.
And so it's actually usually we say fornicating, not fucking. But anyway, I'm feeling a little rude today. So and so this fear-based system will feed on all those substances that you were talking about.
Hmm.
It's going to feed on sugar, on caffeine, on entertainment, on porn, on
Hmm.
all sorts of distractions wherever they are, adrenaline, and so as soon as you're having a struggle in deciding your life, and your mental state will usually try to steer you towards that fear thing, because it's going to be more comfortable to sort of escape out of the situation quickly. And so
Hmm.
what you do is you put your brain in overdrive, by lack of sleep or too much excitement or whatever it is from these substances or things or chemicals or hormones that you're putting your body in. And then obviously you get into this space where making a decision is it's never going to happen.
Good luck.
And so the spiritual bypassing feeds itself on fear. It feeds itself on fear because it's just like it's winding back the same tape and playing it again to you and
Hmm.
saying, oh, this person is mad with you because they're different, or because they're not as spiritually enlightened
Aware,
as you.
high, yeah. Hmm.
Oh, okay. So, but if you're more spiritually enlightened than they are, shouldn't you be helping them? Like, shouldn't you be improving radically their life because you have the power to do that?
And you
Or
probably wouldn't be thinking that anyways if you were.
yes,
You probably wouldn't
exactly. And
even be
so,
having that thought.
yeah, because you're like this system of hierarchy doesn't exist at higher
Hmm.
frequencies.
Hmm.
Separation doesn't exist at higher
No.
frequencies. Once you reach these states, which I'm sorry to say most of the time are not permanent, they last for a little
Hmm.
bit and then we slip back
Get
out of them
glimpses.
fast.
Yep.
And so when you go into these, well, now we can call them citic states for knowing a better word from our friend
Hmm.
Richard Rudd, and these heightened states, these heightened frequencies, there's no other. There's no like, oh, you did this to
Hmm.
me and this, and I'm thinking this of you, and that. No, you're not in the fear system. You're in the
Hmm.
love system. So you're intuition based. You're in this flow. You're in alignment, and that's what we're striving for, right?
Hmm.
And
That's
trying to
what we're,
project. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
that's what we're striving for. And to be reminded that it's not by forcing ourselves to not feel separate that we will get into this acidic state. I'll rephrase. It's
Mm-hmm.
not by acting out the consequences that we will be in the cause. Like that's taking it the opposite, the same way as well, if I stop eating and if I get rid of all my material possessions and if I do everything that the yogis or the Buddhas did, then I will become one of them. It's like, no, they're getting rid of material possessions and this and that because
They no
they're
longer
free
need
of
them.
them.
Yeah, they no
It's a
longer need.
consequence, yeah. um,
It's
and
not the
and
path.
it's not the path. Exactly, the path is self-acceptance, and it's accepting that, yeah, I love my car, and if I were to see it destroyed, I would probably be really mad, and I would probably be pissed off for a long amount of time because I'm attached to it, because I'm a human being and I have attachments to material possessions, and that's part of the experience. And the more I recognize it, by the way, and the more it just dissolves naturally. I don't even really need to make a crazy effort, to like step out of it. It's just more accepting of where we're
Mm.
at right now.
It's the master of meditation. You're not a master of meditation because you meditate more than anyone else. You're a
Mm-hmm.
master because you carry the state of just peaceful and calm awareness everywhere that you go.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, it's really about the consequence. It's really about being in that frequency, in that state. and you can't fake it. You can't like fake it till you make it sort of thing. You know, you can't say like, oh
No.
yeah, if I affirm positively every day that I'm a yogi and that I'm enlightened, I'll get there eventually. Well, I mean, sure, the universe does work by harmonic frequencies, but you're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to do the work because until last I checked, we're all in this human experience, flesh and bone and blood. And when I cut
Hmm.
myself, I still bleed, even though I have a daily practice of, trying to go into higher frequencies. I've not become a god or any other kind of being in the process. I'm actually feeling more and more human as I go down the spiritual path,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
and practicing without embodying.
uh,
So
yeah.
that's
I mean, I guess we were fortunate. We met very early on. We met very early on in our life. Growing up next to a Buddhist community. What masters and
hmm
teachers sort of look like, what kind of life they led. Not that that's the only kind of life you should lead to be a
hmm
spiritual teacher. That's one kind. It's the Eastern way, and that's how they go about it. But when we saw like the level of dedication, I think that these people had, because I mean, they would, when we'd see them, these guys, they were teaching all day. Like they were teaching
hmm
all day, and the rest of the time they were probably meditating, and then they were teaching, and then
hmm
or like a guy like Lama Purusera who was just like, on the community grounds all day, just doing mantras on his on
hmm
his on his on his thing. Um, and when you're close to that kind of devotion and level of commitment, and then when you go to places like, yeah, here in North America, or and because people have read one self-help book, they sort of feel that they're entitled to this, like I was before,
hmm
sort of spiritual BS.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen the light. When that first week of meditation you do, and you're like suddenly
yeah,
like opening up, there is, you do enter a heightened, like periodically we enter these heightened state of frequencies, and we take them for granted because we see things as we do linear time. We see things as a ladder.
mm,
So we're like, okay, I'm here, so I have this heightened state of awareness. Now I'm here now. I'm
yeah.
on level 2. So if
I can't go
anybody
back
asks
down.
me, I meet anyone, I'm level 2, now.
Yeah.
And if I get another spiritual experience, I'm level 3. And the thing is, like, it's
hmm
not like that. Like, frequencies are in the moment. So you're either
hmm
in a heightened state or you're not.
And it
and,
can
and
shift
and that
very
will happen.
rapidly.
Yeah, it will happen your whole life. I mean, it could shift dramatically with just one
hmm
experience, one little pebble in your lake,
hmm
that just stirs up the waters and sort of drives you back into this deep rage. And these things, the reason why we're brought back is to heal, right?
hmm hmm
That's why we come
Yeah,
back.
100%. And that's a big part of the work that I do with my clients in the second part. What that they do in the end is healing all of that. Every time there's a negative emotion that comes up, go back home, sit down, do the meditation, do the soul retrieval, do the parts work, whatever you want to call it, and go from there. And it's those 50 hundreds of times that you've done that again and again and again that will give you progressively like a feeling of, yeah, all of these things are healed and I'm moving into something else. And even then it takes so much time. It takes so much time. um and there's also this this attraction for, call it bells and whistles, or for anything visually attractive, or the uh, fanaticism. Does it say that in English?
Yeah, I
In
guess so. Fanaticism.
fanaticism. I remember you were talking about us younger in the Buddhist center. So we grew up in the southern part of France, and there's a
Oh, there
very
was
big.
so much spiritual BS there.
There was so much spiritual BS. It's a Tibetan Buddhist center down there, and gosh, all I can remember is that like the enormous majority of the people that were there and that went into these centers, first of all, had like very low self-esteem, and they just all felt very, very weak. And I remember that everybody being so attracted and so impressed and oh, when you're impressed by somebody like
And they were like adoring them, like,
adoring, yeah, exactly. There was worship and there was a lot of like amazement in front of things that I understand can be amazing when you're in a room where there's 1,000 Buddha statues, tiny Buddha statues that are all like painted in gold and they're so beautiful, and then you have this huge Buddha in front of you, and there's the sense of there's the incense smell, and then there's like 5 monks in robes on your left, 5 monks on your right, and they're all chanting, and there's like
well, it's
a
like your first
drums.
party, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like your first party in Berlin. And then like they're throwing rice, and then there's all these blessings, and then there's the flutes, and then there's it's impressive. I remember being blown away by all of that and being really impressed. And the thing is, like, the great majority of the people were there and they were only talking about that. And there was that thing of um
About being,
sensationalism, exactly, and the trinkets and these are all symbols of like, I belong to a club, finally I belong to a tribe, I don't feel so separate, we're in this together. And there's also that notion of yeah, all the fancy words, and then you're learning an exotic language because it's Tibetan, and it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all of these things come. The ego loves that shit, and it's just going to feed off of it big time. And that's where you go through that phase, and we're never really out of it, as you remember you said once, of that spiritual ego, where all of a sudden you're identified with that, and that's it's you and my practice, and just
Mm,
me going to the rituals,
yeah,
and
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I've been here for 5 years, oh, I've been here for 10, and there's all of that. And one of the
You
really
witnessed that
funny,
really early, huh?
we really saw, and also I feel we saw the damage that it did on people. They like, it wasn't helping them. I felt like the people we
Mm.
met, like, they felt like they never really grew. They were always kind of in the same thing, and it just kind of got worse. It really wasn't helpful. It's terrible. I'm sorry, guys, if you hear this down in the south of France, but it never attracted me more than that. Because of that, I just felt there was something wrong. And it was very different when I had the experience of Vipassana, because in Vipassana, you're not even allowed to have any trinkets or any malas or any this or any that or any signs of belonging to a certain um, tribe, because it's a very personal, rational practice that you do every day, like you go and work out, and that triggers the hell out of a lot of people. And I told you this already, but like, when I was in South Africa, I did a 10-day meditation course there. And this guy came in with like the white gowns, from top to bottom, and the whole, and the mala, and uh, the third eye mark
Shivas,
here, exactly. And he was walking in such a very dignified, I mean,
graceful
Christ was
manner.
here, he was back, and 2 days after the second day, the fact that he needed to sit still, have no attention on him whatsoever, and had to go through the most boring exercise that you can ever imagine, that was unconceivable for him. And he was the first one to leave, and he was the only one to leave in that course. And all other people that were there, that were just like kind of people from everywhere with their normal t-shirts and their pants and everything, were just like, okay, we're just going to go through with this. And they didn't have all of that pre-spiritual baggage, and that's what helped them, go through with it, because he was really fighting with his ego of like, he needed to have some attention or something, I don't know, but it couldn't work. It couldn't work. It was too real in that sense. It was too basic and dull and humane, and mundane, I'd put
Yeah,
it.
well, simplicity definitely has
Simplicity.
a lot of advantages when you're walking a spiritual path, and when you have a big ego before having a spiritual one, you know, it's tough. It's tough because it's so hard not to magnify yourself through that spiritual lens, and because suddenly, wow, you know, I'm interconnected with millions and billions of people, and then, you know, what's my place in all this? Oh, I'm God sent, and I have all these powers and gifts, and you know, that makes me a sort of messiah anyway. Yeah, you know, and then you know, you feed that thing, and you know, I was totally in that prophet
Mm.
mentality, you know, before.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the like deepest teachings that I've received in my path is that human beings are messengers, and that's our function, you know, in the living kingdom. You know, all the other creatures, they don't talk and sing and chant like we do, and
Mm-hmm.
we have this ability to carry the message. They're historians of the world. We can carry oral traditions for tens of thousands of years to pass down to generation and generation. We have this ability to carry a message, and so everyone does, you know. Don't feel so
Mm-hmm.
don't feel so extraordinary, because you also carry a message. We all do. That's what we're here
Mm.
for. We're passing down information from one time to another, and we're, you know, the guardians of this world that we live in, and there's not much else to it. You know, we sort of like to blow everything up in proportion, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess everything that we've blown out of proportion is the very thing that's destroying our world right now. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. What we're seeing right now, it's the reflection of everybody's state, and it's the, I say, the average of everybody's state, right?
I think
Cool.
it's also like good to mention that I believe one of the reasons that this sort of spiritual ego or bypassing exists, it's I feel like it's the logical mm, sort of effect of these monotheistic religions that we've had, and this
Mm-hmm.
dogma, especially the dogma that we've
Mm-hmm.
had in Judeo-Christian and
Mm-hmm.
Muslim faiths, that this dogma of, you know, really adoring God and really adoring figures of religion and people that embody this and that, and so we tend to really over exaggerate, you know, the importance of someone that is spiritually
Mm-hmm.
awakened
And
in a
dismiss
way.
ourselves in the process as well. There
Yeah,
can be a lot of that, because again, back to the people who I, I felt in majority had a lot of low self-esteem. When you're in front of these masters and everything, it just widens the gap, and it's like, that person is up there, I'm way down there. I'll never be able to get like up there, and therefore, yeah, I should listen to every single word that they say, like
it's
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 pure
so
truth. And
human.
yeah, it's so human. It's, as you said, it's so human. it's it's tough to navigate your way out of that, for sure.
Everywhere you go in this human understanding, this human way of embodying the consciousness, there's always this idea of linearity and
Mm.
hierarchy that installs itself. We're always talking about high and low frequency. We're always talking
Mm-hmm.
about it. We always have to rank things. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's deeply rooted in us,
Mm-hmm.
because it's basically you kill me or I kill you. You know, so I need to know where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
And Mr. Peterson, Jordan Peterson, has a theory. He talks about the lobsters and how they're like 300 million years old or something like that. And they already have a serotonin based system, um, a hierarchy based system that is completely related to the serotonin in the brain. And that's how it works. And that's how they manage to evolve, and to be a community, because there is that hierarchy that's put in place. And then he was saying that, well, we all, by common ancestor, we all come down from pretty much every animal, and so therefore like we're completely in that as well, and it's so ingrained in our mechanics that yes, that is how we work. Like we work with hierarchy. And again, it would be spiritual bypassing to say, well, hierarchies don't concern me. It's like, well, good luck with that. Then I don't know, the person who has, well, then your teacher that has 50 years of experience of like practicing every day, it's like you're going to discard everything that they say just because there's no hierarchy, and like you think you're at the same level of knowledge. It's like it doesn't make sense. And so it's such a thing that's like I think has been abused, that the hierarchy thing has been obviously abused, and then we have started to judge people by like, I'm better than this person, period, not I'm better in them than math because I'm a math PhD and he's 3 years old, so but it's like, you know what I mean? There's been that abuse, right?
But without egoistic like understanding of the world around us. If I don't need to put a hierarchy, and it's easy for me to put myself in a position where I understand that you have knowledge to share with me and that I should listen to you. And there's not that much need anymore for
to enforce
for
that.
this
Yeah,
power
exactly.
struggle, right?
And that's what I mean. And what you just said there, it's because you feel it in your body, and that is the serotonin system. It's like there's that thing of and you see it happen when you're talking to somebody. In an instant that they have like more information than you, and it puts you in a place of listening. And thank God we have that. Can you imagine if we didn't? Like, it would be a catastrophe. No, we wouldn't be able to learn from each other. The whole student teacher thing would be inexistent. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why we boil lobsters alive? Are we trying to hide the facts?
Yeah, I don't know. I just this comparison when Jordan Peterson said that, he got a lot of criticism from all the media saying he's just comparing humans to lobsters, like that. The easiest simplification and throw out the whole theory that comes with it.
Nice.
Sweet. It was nice chatting.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks you guys and gals for watching until the end of the video.
Absolutely.
I hope this made you triggered at some point. This puts you in a place to react.
And now for the commitment part, let me present you Cyrille, that is with us today.
So if you're ready to get into the digging deep of all of this and getting all the tools that I was speaking of earlier, and solving conflicts in your life and being comfortable with conflict in your life, and regaining self-confidence and self-esteem, we talked about today as well.
So and you don't have to crush other people.
So you don't have to crush other people in order to feel better about yourself. That can always be handy. Yeah, don't hesitate. I think you're going to put all the links down there on YouTube.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you guys can also check out our other videos. If you like this content, do subscribe to our channel and activate the little bell. We're going to try and make a weekly video for you to enjoy, and we'll continue discussing topics. We'd love to have some feedback, obviously.
Yeah, share.
Let us know. Let us know. There is a Telegram group that you can join. The link is below in the description. You can join the discussion there, and we can sort of go further into the depths of what these things mean to each other, and especially listen to you guys, because we're very interested in knowing about you.
Have your feedback on all this, your experience, everything we talked about today with the bypass, with the spiritual ego, with all of those tricks that the ego puts us on the path. Yeah, I'd love to hear your comments about it and to keep having this discussion. And if you have questions as well on like whatever we said or remarks, feel
And if
free.
you have any tricks for me not to feel too superior, I mean, I'm always all ears to listen to those. Yeah, just to share a little bit about what I do before we go. I am also a teacher. I'm an author. Hopefully, some of my books are going to be published at some time. In the meantime, what you can do is link up with me on my website, which is in the description. I offer readings for human design, and I can guide you intuitively into other areas of your life, business, personal, energetic, or otherwise. And I've just launched today my
An online
first online
course.
course called Awakening the Moon Warrior, which I actually take you through a process similar to what Cyrille was describing at the beginning of the video, of finding your own rhythm, finding your own cycle, creating your own
Mm-hmm.
time. So we're using the moon as a reference because that's the natural cycle that I studied. But there's a lot of universal wisdom to be found in those natural cycles. So that's what I'm sharing with you. There's also exclusive excerpts from my book in there, lots of videos and content for you to enjoy and grow. And yeah, that's about it for me for my promotion clip.
Hmm.
We'll see you next time, I guess.
We'd need a little like what's it called? An advert thing, you know, in some videos in some French YouTubers I've seen, they take the old ones from M6, TF1, like all the old channels from like the
Nice.
80s, and they just use that as like a jingle before
That's
their self promotion.
that's pretty cool. I feel like you're gonna dig into the to making this podcast more fun
Oh,
visually
yeah, totally.
with memes and stuff
And we'll have some help
and
as well because we're
painting things on our faces. Yeah, because I mean
yeah.
I have absolutely no qualification for that. So
All right,
so
thank you,
yeah, I mean,
people.
I feel like love and light, guys. Stay positive, love and light. Never get angry, and yeah, just stay on top of things. And if someone gets mad at you, it's probably just their fault. All right.
It's probably just their fault and get away from there, and then yeah, blame them,
Yeah.
and shame them if you get the occasion as well. If you
Yeah,
get the
and it's
opportunity to shame anybody, that's
oh
I would
yeah,
go for it
oh
right away.
for sure, and publicly if that's possible, shame them
Yeah,
publicly. And
anonymously, publicly.
it's not you. It's just that they have bad karma. So I mean.
Yeah. Enjoy.